Hello, everybody. This is Sree from BizBuzz, what matters the most in your business, and sponsored by My Work Belt. My Work Belt is a software as a service SaaS product that is an all-in-one software for helping service-based small businesses to be organized and be able to run their business. Essentially, it is a business operating system. And as I am bringing guests on different topics in my BizBuzz, now we have Alexandra Accounting and Christina Maurice, who is the owner and master of accounting in Alexandra Accounting. That is located in Royal Oak, Michigan. Christina, how are you doing?
I am well. How are you?
Very good, Christina. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I am so excited to pick your brain and take your wisdom to the rest of the business community. As I know, you, as Christina, you have been helping small businesses on their bookkeeping, taxing, and managing their money for well over 25 years. So tell me a little bit more about what is more than just simply a bookkeeping you do for small business.
Yes. Thanks for having me. So I started doing the books for my mom's company, actually, way back when she had a business.
Yeah,
She knew how to do the books, but hated it. So she just kind of gave me a quick tutorial back in the day of general ledger paper
I
and,
see.
off from there. So that's just kind of what I've done going forward. Taxes for individuals, small businesses, S corps, corporations, partnerships. But what I find a lot of is those people who are now becoming 1099 contractors, especially, after COVID, more people are working from home. People need two jobs, so they're subletting and they're getting these 1099s and a lot of times are not aware of all the implications that means. So I take the time to walk through them. I have a self-employment checklist that I'll give them that just kind of lists all the possible different types of deductions that may or may not apply for them and kind of, walk them through making estimates or, anything that may apply tax-wise that they may or may not have understood before.
So, Christina, as we have been hearing a lot these days in the news, after new regime came into power in United States, we are all talking about tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. That's been a major topic in the news and everywhere. So, if it is a simple small business that I'm running, do I really have to worry about tariffs?
Do you have to worry about what? Sorry.
Tariffs.
Oh, tariffs. Um, I mean, everybody has to worry about those to an extent because that affects everybody with the imports and the exports. But if you're especially if you're a service business and you're not relying on product to
Mm.
service your customers, it's probably not, as front in your mind as what it would be if you're dependent on getting stuff from overseas.
So that is, if something is coming from overseas, if I'm buying a material from overseas in order to do my deliverables, that is when the tariffs will kick in, and that's where I have to be really worried about. If I'm purely doing a service to somebody, if I'm fixing a bathroom or putting a roof over somebody's house or doing a marketing for some other business, so I don't have to really worry about tariffs. Am I taking it correct?
Yeah, for the most part, at least, in your business wise, because you're not relying on product.
Now, when it comes to the uh, business accounting and taxes, right? Generally, one business, when they pay X amount of dollars to other business in the form of invoice payment, whatnot, and then they are all about that. I need to send a 1099 to your business. Tell me a little bit more about how is important that 1099 from sending one business to another business?
First off, you do not need to send 1099s to corporations. So if they're a corporation, you don't need to send a 1099. However, if it's over $600, that is the limit. That is including, labor and materials. If you pay them more than $600 in a year, you are required to issue them a 1099. It even asks that when you file your tax return, if you are required to, and if you did file all necessary 1099.
For an individual who is receiving more than $600, is obligated to receive a 1099.
Yes,
or expected to receive.
An individual that is a business. Yes, that is a self-employed person, or they are getting a 1099. Realistically, they're already including that in their income anyway, but they are supposed to be getting those 1099s.
So that 1099 between corporations doesn't really take any big effect. Whereas 1099, if I'm a business owner and if it is more than $600, I pay to Bob, and I am required to issue a 1099 to Bob. Am I?
Yeah, if you're a business. So individuals, if you come pay a roofer to roof your house, you're not going to issue him a 1099 because you're an individual. But if you're a small business and they're roofing your business, then the business would issue them a 1099. One thing that I find that trips a lot of people up is, end of the year, I've now paid Bob over $600, but I don't have, a social security number or tax ID for him. Now you try to find Bob to get that information, and that's not always easy. So, what is recommended is before you pay any vendor, especially if you anticipate over $600 or, a reoccurring thing, give them that W-9 paperwork first to have them fill out to their address, name, and social security number before they get a check. Because if they want money, they're going to give you that form. So
absolutely,
you can do that first before you give them payment, and then that way you've got that information come the end of the year. And if you don't pay Bob $600, then you don't need it, but you've got it there just in case.
What if I issue a 1099 and I mail it, and that bounces back to me, and I can't reach that person?
You are obligated to mail the 1099 to the last known address or the address that they put on the W-9 by January 31st. That's your obligation. So if it comes back to you as, address not found or they moved, as far as your legal obligation, you've completed it.
See, okay. So I don't have to be worried about, oh my God, it came back to me now. How am I going to find this person? How am I going to give this person that 1099?
Right. And, when they're sent to the IRS, they're e-filed. So the IRS is going to get their copy regardless. And that individual should, as I said earlier, should be putting that income on their return already, with whether they get the 1099 or not.
Right. Now, when somebody is self-employed or a small business and they are filing their taxes, in general, for a standard deduction is applied to a regular family or family filing, right? Now, if it is a business filing, how does it work? Is there any standard deductions, or do we have to write every single expense or itemized, or how is that different from family?
Well, you do need to, break out all of your expenses because you are going to list those. And it depends on the type of tax return the business is filing. For most of these 1099 contractors, they're self-employed. So they're going to file a Schedule C return, which goes on your personal 1040. So you would still get the standard deduction as you normally would when you file your taxes. You're just now going to have this extra income from the self-employment.
Right. Now, if somebody is working as a self-employed and they continue receiving the money from their customer at the point of time, right, on a monthly basis. Now, um, what do they have to do on a quarterly basis? Do they have to file the quarterly taxes, or how does it work if somebody is receiving continuously uh, every month or every other month or every once in 6 months, or randomly they receive funds for the service they provide?
Right. You are required by the IRS to pay estimates on a quarterly basis. And those are based on the first month after a quarter. So April, July, October, and then January. You are to pay estimates based on your perceived income for the year. So obviously at the beginning of the year, the only constant you know is what you made last year. So when you begin making your estimates, you're going to make it based on what you made last year, you know, what taxes you owed last year, and you'll make estimates based on that. As long as you do that, your liability as far as making estimates is good, even if you end up owing more at the end of the year. What's a smart idea, though, is to reevaluate that. So for a lot of my clients, you know, we'll look at June. Where are you in 6 months compared to last year? If you've got more income, especially a lot more income than last year, you might want to pay more than what we originally anticipated so that you don't have as big of a tax bill at the end of the year.
Otherwise, it's going to become ouch at the end of the year.
Yeah. And you know, because there's everything. Maybe you took a distribution from, you know, a pension or an annuity or 401k that's going to get added in too as far as your tax bill. So there's all these different factors that play into what you're going to owe at the end of the year. But as long as you've paid in at least the tax that you owed the year before, you're not going to get penalized.
Christina, thank you very much for sharing your tips. And you are a master on this subject, and I am so glad to have you on the show. And those who are listening to this, and I believe now you have a little bit better understanding of what is your obligations about 1099 if you are receiving any 1099. If you are not receiving a 1099, what if you are running a business? I hope you now understand what is the method and what is the requirements of sending 1099 to your vendors who are making more than $600, or who you are paying more than $600 between material